Hello, welcome to Go Beyond Betty. You know that I am from New Mexico and New Mexican food is very near and dear to my heart. So I want to show you how to make some red chili sauce. So the red chili sauce, you can put it on anything, any kind of New Mexican food, burritos, enchiladas. So you can just smother anything you want to. So stay tuned. You should like and subscribe and click the little notification bell, and then it'll notify you when we're going to make all these delicious things like red chili enchiladas, Frito pie, huevos rancheros, all that delicious stuff. But it starts with red chili. So if you go to a store in New Mexico, you're going to find it in 3 different forms. You'll find the powdered stuff. This is probably the easiest one to find. They're all the same chili, but it's just in different stages of preparation. So this is fully dry, shelf stable, you can keep it all the time. You could find them, the pods dry. So they do actually hang these, they're called ristras, and they're just dried red chilies. You'll need to process these a little bit in order for it to become this. This is just chili puree. This is always in the frozen section in maybe 14-ish ounce tubs. So in order to get this, it takes a little work. We did this before. If you watch my video on pozole, you can click up here, which is an amazing way to use the red chili puree. But these have to go through a little bit of a process. So let me give you a 10-second recap on how we got from here to here. I'm gonna take them out, I'm gonna toast them in a pan. I have all the tops and the seeds out along with my gloves. And then in this pot, I have some garlic and then the toasted chili. So my chili pods are done boiling with some garlic. I'm gonna add them to the Vitamix with a good amount of water and blend them up. So today we're gonna show you 2 different ways that we can make the actual sauce. So we're gonna use the puree and we're gonna do it with the dried chili.
Hang on, this shot is no bueno.
You're funny. All right, so you need to start with a good heavy bottom pans of sorts. And you're gonna want equal amounts of flour and oil. Let's start with a tablespoon of each. If we find our sauce isn't as thick as we want, we can adjust, but let's just start with a tablespoon of each. And we're just making a basic roux. A roux is just combining the fat and the flour. And keep it moving because your goal is to cook the flour. You don't want a raw flour taste. So we're gonna wait till this gets lightly golden brown. My camera guy is the best guy. All right, it's starting to get golden brown. So we're gonna add equal amounts of chicken broth, or you can use water, and our red chili. I'm doing 1.5 cups of red chili and 1.5 cups of chicken broth. Whisk. So we're gonna wait for this to come up to a boil. And anytime you're thickening a sauce, you need it to get to a full boil and boil for at least a minute so that it has its full thickening power. If you find at that point that it's not as thick as you want it to be, and you don't want it super thick, but if it's not, the only thing you can really do is add a little bit of cornstarch with water. You can't really go back to adding flour. Flour, it'll just be a clumpy mess. It doesn't really work well.
You mix the cornstarch and the water separately though, right?
No, well, you mix the cornstarch and water, yes, and then dump it in. But that's really the only way to do it after the fact. But the roux is really what makes the flavor. It wouldn't work as well to just do the cornstarch thickening. You really want that roux flavor in there. So we're gonna give this a few minutes and then we'll taste it for seasoning. All right, so it's been boiling away. I do have it on just a really low simmer right now. And it's the perfect thickness, I think. I don't want it too thick or too thin. It's just nice, pourable. So what I did, and again, it kind of depends on the chili that you have and the broth and things that you use. I end up doing a tablespoon of salt. I use a kosher salt. I did 2 tablespoons of a plain tomato sauce. It just kind of mellows out that flavor a little bit. I did a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and less than a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. I like the flavor, but I don't want too much Mexican oregano. And that's it. After you do that, taste it. See if you want it a little bit more sweet. It's not going to be bright. It is supposed to be kind of an earthy red sauce. So that's all we need to do. This is perfectly ready now for huevos rancheros or to put on a burrito, but we're going to use it to make some enchiladas. So if you are interested in making the enchiladas, click up here. If the link isn't there, it's not going to be there till the next week, but that's okay. Click up here and I'll show you how to make some red chili enchiladas. Now we're going to make red chili sauce using the dry chili powder. Same as last time, we're going to make a roux. So a little bit of oil, a neutral oil, tablespoon or so of flour. Whisk it. Give it maybe 1 to 2 minutes to ensure that that flour is cooked through. Don't leave it at this point. You got to keep it moving.
There you go.
Yeah. And I can see that it's starting to get a little bit brown in color. I'm gonna add a 1/3 cup of our dried chili powder. We obviously don't have much moisture in here, but I like that it kind of toasts it up a little bit and disperses the chili.
Very aromatic. Yeah.
To that, we're gonna add 1.5 cups of water. You could use broth. Mostly just curious to see if there's a difference because I've never really made them side by side before. So I wanna do this one with just water. Anytime you're thickening something with a roux, you have to wait till it comes to a boil, give it at least a full minute to see the thickness of it. So we're gonna just let this hang out for a bit. We will need to season it. So to season it, you want garlic powder, onion powder, maybe a little Mexican oregano, not much. You don't wanna overdo that. Salt, and then maybe a little bit of sugar. And sometimes a little bit of tomato sauce will also round out the flavors of this. So in the meantime, just let this get to a boil. I'm starting off to season it. I really don't know exactly how much, and you never really will. All chili's different, everything's different. The thickness looks good. I can actually turn it off the heat because I don't need it to evaporate anymore, but I like the thickness. It would be great for huevos rancheros. It's a sauce that comes together very quickly. All told, we're in about 5 minutes. Now we need to taste it. So if we think that it needs to, if it's just too harsh on chili and like smoky, earthy, we're gonna add a little bit tomato sauce just to balance it out, or maybe a little bit more sugar. So we need to taste it. Nice thickness on the spoon. It's not something you want to eat a lot of by itself. Good. Good back heat too. Definitely needs more salt. I'm gonna do just a little blob. About 1 tablespoon, because it's very smoky. Very, oops. Whoopsie daisy. Now we're at 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and still just the same amount of garlic powder and oregano. I think that should do it. Maybe instead of just drinking them, use our delicious Hawaii's tortilla chips, which you could click here and make them yourself. Watch the video. Yes. It's easier when you try it with something. Kind of like salad dressing. You want to like dip a cucumber in it. It's just hard to taste by itself. It's ready. All right, so let's come back and we'll compare. The one on the right is the powder. The one on the left is the puree. All right, so we have both of our chilies here. I will say the powder, it is like a fraction of the time. The pods, it is a beautiful process and it makes your house smell amazing. The boiling of them, the roasting of them, but it is a much longer process. This is like a minimum of an hour to get to this sauce. This one was like 5 minutes. So let's see if the hour-long one is better. Let's see. It does have a little more thickness to it. You do definitely taste like that there's a puree, that it was like a vegetable. It's lovely though. This one tastes, it's smoother. It's not as rich and velvety. I mean, this one is definitely the better sauce. But if it was a Saturday morning, this is the one that's gonna get made. And it's a lot more, they're both shelf stable to have the dried powder and the dried pods in your cabinet. This one was a lot faster, but yes, this one, it just has a fresher taste to it. This just tastes like what you might get at a restaurant. Not as great of a restaurant in New Mexico. Can't beat it. But that's why we take whisks in the kitchen. So thank you for joining me at Go Beyond Betty, where you are taking whisks in the kitchen. We'll see you next time. Bye!